What's going on, guys? It's C-Dog. Today we're going to be talking about the new NRG roster, specifically how they did in the SENS City Classic, and what we can expect from them going into 2025. So first things first here, the players you see on the screen, Mada and Verno, if you don't know them, they played in Challengers, which is the Tier 2 league. They played in NA, and they were both the highest rated players in their individual roles, Initiator and Duelist. Mada was on track for basically a historic MVP season. Guy had 25 kills every single map. He and his team, unfortunately, did slow down in playoff time, and they ended up losing out to TSM. And the same thing actually ended up happening to Oxygen, where they ended up losing out earlier on in the tournament to M80 in a really, really, really hard lower bracket matchup. And they've kind of all gone their separate ways and gotten their offers respectively. But here they are now. Now, the thing that I want to talk about first here in terms of the roster outside of these additions is what happened last year. So last year, role problems, drama. Last year was a great example of a team where I don't know who it was, but a lot of people were quote unquote like the best like on that team, right? I think people would argue that Marv, at one point was the best controller, Demon One, best duelist for whatever reason. People argued that, he can only play Jett, but he's a champ, right? Um, Ethan being in a position probably like best like KO, like breach player. I think that was like a fair kind of like breakdown or like assessment of that. And Crashies and Vic, the duo. Vic ended up playing Sentinel, and Crashies was still on his recon initiator role. Don't know if you'd still consider him like the best, but definitely was there at one point. Anyway, a lot of a lot of things going on there where you have so much value or firepower or stock or worth in these players where you put them together and it's supposed to work because they're all so good, right? Ended up not. Personalities clashing, people not getting along. Obviously they had the great breakup and the whole thing where people are getting like benched and stuff like that. It was really ugly. I see the exact opposite in this team. FNS and Som came to this team last season to pick up the pieces to just try to salvage it and see what they can do with it. I don't think either of them looked that good. Obviously, FNS looking a little worse for wear than Sam at the time, and I don't blame him. He didn't have a lot of time to get slotted in. He just kind of got dropped in the middle of a season and said play. So now that he's had a little bit of an off season, he's gonna have some time. A lot of people have been happy that he's been like working on his mechanics. I see tweets all the time about his like headshot percentage and stuff like that. I do think that he stepped it up personally, individually. This team is going to be a force to reckon with. Verno and Mata are hungry. Okay, they want to win. They want to be great. They want to do great things. I think that's the difference that we saw between this roster and the Sentinels roster at this event. Is NRG was hard playing to win, like absolutely like trying like S tier as hard as they can. And when I say that, I don't mean it like it's a bad thing. Like Sentinels has an excuse for losing. They don't. They did get torched. It was not close. Okay, Zekin did have a bad performance on Duelist, but at the end of the day, I think these rosters were playing for two different things. Again, I think NRG was kind of like hard playing to win. No one has seen how this roster plays. No one knows how it works, and Sentinels seemed like they were more so trying things out. John's back on the initiator he was years ago, right? They slotted in Ben, they slotted in Narrate. They're trying to see how it works. They definitely wanted to get value out of this event and, not sit here and try to just like hard win. I'm sure they wanted to win. I'm sure they didn't just instantly give up or anything like that, but NRG is looking lights out in terms of everybody being on an individual comfort kind of like role and the players that are here now and the takeover potential that they have. So I want to go to the VLR now and kind of showcase what the best version of this NRG team is going to look like. So here's a best of three against Sentinels where you see FNS playing the Sentinel and you see Verno playing the Initiator. This isn't going to happen every time. I personally feel like the flashing Initiator is FNS's best role, but the problem is that Ethan overlaps that. Ethan will never play Recon. Okay, Verno will play Recon. He will play the Sova. He will play the Fade. FNS can play the Fade. We've seen it in the past, but I think the actual peak that this team has in terms of value is going to be Verno on the Sentinel. Okay, scary. It's hard to deal with. Okay, FNS does an exceptional job on the breach, on the flashing, talking about the pace, the speed, and I think that we saw it here on Sunset. Even though this was kind of like a little bit of a choked game, or sorry, the other way around, where Sentinels kind of should have won this. But we have him on the breach, Ethan on the KO, split, him on the breach, Ethan on the sky. I think that these will be their best 2 maps throughout the year. When the double flash can exist and they don't have to have Verno playing recon, they just have Verno on sentinel and they say, hey, throw some stuff on the ground and then hold your gun out and kill everybody, because that's what he does. The guy's insane. But at the end of the day, I think this is going to be their final form in terms of like the best that they can offer. FNS is kind of like a part of the pack, talking about pace, speed, and I think that they're going to blow the last roster out of the water because of the amount of flexibility they have. Verno's playing the Recon and the Sentinel on some maps. FNS is playing the Sentinel, and then the Flash on some maps. Ethan's on his comfort role. Mata can play any duelist in the game, comfort role. Soman, you know what I mean? He's just placing smokes and fragging out. They have what it takes to win a championship this year. I think the only thing that would really stop them would be, um, I mean, kind of just like a pretty common thing that stops a lot of teams, which is just what the individual wants. What extent are they looking to go to? What are they looking to, how long or how hard can they, work or go for, whatever it is. I think if they just pace themselves and they, really don't have the craziest expectations for each other, it'll be good. A team like EG is like easy to think about right now. I've heard there's some people on that team that have crazy expectations for one another, and when things don't go their way, they get pissy and they get upset. But at the end of the day, NRG is looking pretty deadly here. They really showed out in this tournament, and they kind of walked everybody that they played. They have no role problems. They have people playing cover roles. They have a complete new face in terms of bringing in Bonkar as well. He's currently incorporating a system that worked well on Oxygen, and I'm sure it's going to work well on this team because everybody here is kind of like a higher level, than Oxygen. Not that that's a bad thing; it's just a fact of the matter, right? That's a challengers team. This is a VCT team. So with him at the reins, I think that he's going to be able to really just like make the culture about hardworking and taking it serious and not underestimating anybody and just going in here and just playing their game. Mata was a great energy guy throughout the entire tournament. Time after time, we saw him on the cameras just holding his hands up, dapping people, fist bumping people, laughing, smiling, yelling a little bit, getting hype. That's definitely what they need as well. And he's going to be a guy who needs that, where, you want to have that guy hyped up. He can take over games like it's nothing. And again, it's something that we see where it's just like, who wants to step up the most? You got your 2 challengers players walking in here, the 1.2 or higher rating, just completely dominating. We have, again, major champions over here who are kind of like slipping and falling, not able to find their footing going up against these teams, even though, again, they were playing the tournament for different reasons, in my opinion. I think they were just practicing stuff, but, it's not that it's like an excuse. At the end of the day, they did lose. But we're going to have a serious rivalry here in NA, and I think that these 2 teams are going to be like the top of it. This is going to be kind of like the clout match. I don't think that 100 Thieves necessarily has like fallen off or anything like that, but NRG's got themselves back in the conversation of like a top team like in the region, and it comes directly from the power of Verno and Mata. And again, I think this team has what it takes to win a championship this year, whether it's a Masters or going all the way and winning it in champs at the end. Okay, really all I wanted to talk about there was the coverage of the tournament and kind of like what I think about the team. Let me know what you guys think about the team as well. I'll have a couple more of these coming out this week. I appreciate you tuning in. Hope you have a good one. I'll see you when I see you. Join Discord, check out coaching options, open the description, follow the socials. I appreciate you. T-Dog out. Deuces.